The final episode of Daredevil, Born Again, Straight to Hell, delivers a tense, character-driven climax that not only redefines Matt Murdock's journey, but also dramatically reshapes the MCU's street-level landscape. Today's video is going to explore the narrative, character arcs, and the overwhelming amount of MCU Easter eggs and callbacks to the original Netflix series, while pondering the finale's significance for the future of New York in the MCU. This breakdown is not going to be spoiler-free, so watch at your own nerd risk. Kicking off with the man of the hour, Matt Murdock. He was put through the ringer in this one. His journey in the finale is one of acceptance and rebirth. Throughout the season, he wrestles with the duality of his existence, lawyer versus vigilante. The events of the finale force him to accept that the system is broken and that Daredevil is needed more than ever. His decision to don the costume again and lead the fight against Fisk is a moment of catharsis and commitment, signaling that he can no longer separate his two identities. Whereas the villain of the show, Wilson Fisk, also known as Kingpin, his arc is one of regression. Despite earlier attempts to legitimize his rule, the finale sees him revert fully to his Kingpin persona, ruling with fear and violence. His partnership with Vanessa is now one of mutual ruthlessness, and his declaration of martial law marks the darkest chapter for New York's governance. Karen Page returns as Matt's confidant and moral anchor, helping him rally support and reminding him of Foggy's faith in him. Frank Castle is both ally and wildcard, which is pretty standard for the character no matter who he is fighting alongside, but his brutal methods only stand out more in this show when they clash with Daredevil's moral code. He is ultimately captured, but a post-credits scene hints at his continued resistance. Because one thing about the Punisher, he is hard to knock down. Heather Glenn and Kirsten McDuffie represent Matt's lost connections to a normal life, both distancing themselves as he embraces his vigilante role. Angela Del Toro is teased as a potential new White Tiger, keeping the door open for further street-level heroes. Imagine her on the Young Avengers in the MCU, she would fit right in. But let's get to the good stuff, all the callbacks and little references that tie this show to a grander universe. To put it short, let's get into the Easter eggs. The finale is packed with nods to the MCU and the Netflix Daredevil series, rewarding attentive fans and those that have been there since the beginning. One of the most significant callbacks involves Agent Ray Nadeem. He was a character from the Netflix show, a special agent for the FBI that was unfortunately taken out by Bullseye in season 3. Sadly, that meant viewers would not be seeing him again, but that doesn't mean they can't hear about him. Vanessa Fisk clearly explains that FBI corruption led to Bullseye getting released from prison early, despite the fact that that is a horrible idea. I mean, look at Bullseye and that resume of his. He should never have even been close to getting out. Agent Nadeem and Wilson Fisk are included in this conversation with Vanessa, not just tying it back to the first show, but also helping continue the story in a way that slots everything together organically. This nod also ties the current narrative of Born Again to past events, emphasizing the ongoing corruption within law enforcement that has historically protected Fisk and, let's honest, destroys the city but makes for an entertaining viewing experience. Another key reference is the stuff about Red Hook Port or Red Hook Pier, which Vanessa and Fisk use as a criminal hub. The port is designated as a free port by a historic legal document from 1855, allowing them to launder money under the guise of urban revitalization. Fisk wants to make their operation go from big to massive though. The port was also featured in other Marvel series like Iron Fist and The Punisher, which further proves that those shows and all that took place in them are part of the MCU now. I mean, The Punisher literally appearing in multiple episodes and working with Matt was also a pretty big tip-off. But this is still a fun fact. Overall, this detail not only grounds the criminal enterprise in real-world legal loopholes, but also echoes comic book storylines involving smuggling and illicit trade zones. Moving on to the clothes. Fisk's attire also pays homage to his comic book roots. In the finale, he wears a stained white suit, a classic look for the Kingpin character. This visual choice symbolizes his full embrace of his villainous persona and mirrors his appearances in both the Marvel comics and the Netflix series. The red splatter on his suit, particularly during his confrontation with Matt, echoes the recurring motif of the rabbit in a snowstorm painting, which has been associated with Fisk's character since the series' beginning. The painting painting, often blood-splattered, symbolizes the inevitable violence that defines Fisk's life and criminal empire. And while we are the topic, the painting is featured many times throughout the show, but heavily featured in a scene where Vanessa and Wilson share a victory dinner. As they clink glasses, behind them is the painting. With Wilson decked out in his white suit and Vanessa in her dress, they mirror the painting in the visual cue of their violent compatibility. Like the splatter and the painting is not lost on the audience. The visual motif of Fisk's red splattered suit and the rabbit in a snowstorm painting symbolize the inescapable violence and chaos surrounding him. But back to the original point, the Red Hook port. The scene where Bullseye crashes the port's inaugural black and white ball echoes the Netflix series' iconic wedding crash, foreshadowing the cyclical nature of Fisk's criminal dominance and Daredevil's ongoing struggle. The episode also seems to reference the Secret Empire storyline from the comics, the story where an evil Captain America used Dark Force energy to terrify the residents of New York by plunging the city that never sleeps into complete darkness. Born Again does something similar, creating chaos and worry, but this time it's all orchestrated by Fisk, yet still reminiscent of Hydra's Dark Force-powered attack in Secret Empire Zero. This moment underscores Fisk's desire for control and chaos, aligning with the comic's themes of authoritarianism and manipulation. The return of White Tiger via Angela Del Toro is another pretty big moment for the show and the MCU, of course. Her presence hints at her future role as a hero. Do I hear Young Avengers, anyone? Her character's inclusion is a nod to the legacy of Marvel's street-level heroes, because goodness knows Marvel has dozens if not hundreds of them. The episode also confirms Officer Cole North as the man who ended Hector Ayala, the original White Tiger, with Frank Castle recognizing a Punisher bullet casing at the scene, a direct callback to the comics' depiction of the anti-vigilante task force's brutal methods. Woven into the episode are a couple funny callbacks to the original Netflix series, a favorite being the avocados at law sign. What might seem like a silly or even confusing phrase actually holds a lot of emotional weight as it references Foggy Nelson and Matt Murdock's early days as lawyers. Foggy was trying to say lawyers in Spanish. The word can sound a bit like avocados, and you can probably guess whatever happened. Rest in peace, Foggy Nelson, the best avocado at law there ever was. The soundtrack shouldn't go unnoticed either. The strategic choices also contain symbolic significance, with songs like Stormcloud Rising, Killing Me Softly, and Radiohead's Everything in Its Right Place, which reflect the episode's dark tone and the chaos engulfing New York. They are also pretty literal. Stormcloud plays as TH episode kicks off, and there certainly is a storm cloud of unrest in NYC. Softly plays during an attempt on Matt's life, and Right Place plays right at the end. The soundtrack designer nailed this season. Finally, the episode's references extend to the MCU. We mentioned the nods to the Secret Empire storyline, but there was also a fun nod to the Pim Van Dyne Foundation in the form of an electronic billboard seen just before the lights went down. The Pims come from the Ant-Man section of Marvel. These Easter eggs serve to deepen the narrative, connect the series to the wider MCU, and set the stage for future developments. The finale's careful weaving of comic book lore, Netflix callbacks, and MCU references creates a layered storytelling experience that rewards attentive fans and enriches the ongoing saga of Daredevil and New York's vigilantes. The finale's narrative structure is deliberately somber and unresolved. Rather than a triumphant victory, Matt and his allies are forced into retreat, regrouping for a larger war to come. He does say we're gonna need an army. Hopefully that means we'll be seeing some epic team-ups soon. They subtly mentioned Spider-Man a few times in the show, plus Miss Marvel was directly mentioned too, but this choice grounds the series in the harsh realities of street-level heroism. Victories are temporary, and the fight is unfortunately never truly over. By outlawing vigilantes and instituting martial law, the show raises the stakes for all costume heroes in the MCU's New York. The Red Hook free port, the caging of heroes, and the rise of new threats all set the stage for a broader, more interconnected street-level narrative in future seasons. Daredevil, Born Again's finale is a pivotal chapter for the MCU, signaling a renewed focus on grounded, morally complex storytelling. The episode's Easter eggs and references not only reward longtime fans, but also lay the groundwork for crossovers and new heroes. The integration of characters like the Punisher, Bullseye, and White Tiger, along with references to organizations like the Pim Van Dyne Foundation, hint at a future where the street level and cosmic sides of the MCU may intersect more than ever. The final episode of Daredevil, Born Again, is a masterclass in character-driven storytelling, balancing action, emotion, and a wealth of Marvel lore. By embracing the darkness and uncertainty of Matt Murdock's world, the show delivers a finale that is both a conclusion and a bold promise for the future. With its rich tapestry of MCU Easter eggs and its commitment to exploring the cost of heroism, Born Again ensures that Daredevil's fight, and the fight for New York, has only just begun.
During a courtroom scene, Leroy Bradford, a defendant Matt Murdock is representing, makes an unexpected claim. When confronted with evidence against him, Bradford jokingly suggests, could it have been a Skrull who stole the caramel corn? This seemingly throwaway line carries a significant weight within the MCU. It directly references the events of Secret Invasion, a recent MCU series where the shape-shifting alien race known as the Skrulls infiltrated Earth, impersonating various individuals, including high-profile figures. While Matt dismisses the notion with a deadpan nope, the mention itself serves as an acknowledgement that the Skrull invasion and its aftermath are still part of the MCU's shared history. The inclusion of this reference suggests that despite the varied reception to Secret Invasion, Marvel Studios is not entirely disregarding its narrative threads. Instead, they're finding ways to subtly integrate these events into other MCU projects, even if it's through a humorous remark. This could indicate a continued awareness of the Skrull presence within the MCU, potentially paving the way for future storylines involving the alien race, or it might simply be a nod to acknowledge the interconnected nature of the universe. The fact that a character like Leroy would even consider the possibility of a Skrull being responsible for a petty crime demonstrates the impact that Secret Invasion had on the public consciousness within the MCU, creating a scenario where such an outlandish excuse is, within this fictional context, plausible. In a scene involving Wilson Fisk's political aide Daniel and reporter BB Urich, a seemingly innocuous comment confirms a piece of pop culture exists within the MCU. After Daniel reveals Fisk's plans for a citywide recycling initiative, BB Urich playfully dubs Fisk's aide Captain Planet. This reference to the classic Hanna-Barbera cartoon Captain Planet and the Planeteers, an environmentally themed show from the 1990s, confirms its place within the MCU's reality. The humor in this line comes from the juxtaposition of the earnest environmentalism of Captain Planet with the potentially self-serving and possibly corrupt nature of Fisk's political agenda. This Easter egg exemplifies the MCU's tendency to incorporate elements of real-world pop culture, which helps to ground the more fantastical aspects of the universe in such a relatable context. These kinds of references can enhance viewer immersion, making the fictional world feel more lived in by including shared cultural touchstones. Interestingly, Don Cheadle, the actor who portrays James Rhodey Rhodes / War Machine in the MCU, once humorously played a live-action version of Captain Planet in a parody sketch for Funny or Die. While likely coincidental, this connection adds a layer of meta-humor for observant fans. During a legal consultation with Leroy Bradford, the defendant makes a pointed joke at Matt Murdock's expense. Bradford quips, "Bring on the blind justice," directly referencing Matt Murdock's blindness. This line plays on the well-known phrase, "justice is blind," which symbolizes the idealized objectivity and impartiality of the law. This phrase is often associated with the iconic imagery of Lady Justice, a blindfolded figure holding scales and a sword, representing fairness and the power of the law. Notably, the statue of Lady Justice is prominently featured in the opening credits of both the original Netflix Daredevil series and the new iteration, Daredevil Born Again, creating a subtle reference that connects the two shows. This Easter egg reinforces the central theme of justice that permeates the episode, as highlighted by its title. I'm not going to say it again because we both know my pronunciation is awful, which translates to "thus always the system," often interpreted as a commentary on systemic issues. The reference to the opening credits of the previous series acts as a gentle nod to the show's legacy and its continuation within the MCU, rewarding longtime fans with a familiar visual and thematic link. The episode sees Matt Murdock processing the belongings of his deceased client, Hector Ayala, also known as the vigilante White Tiger. Among these items are Ayala's distinctive White Tiger mask and amulet. Shortly after, Matt meets his niece, Angela de Toro. In the Marvel Comics, Angela de Toro inherits the White Tiger mantle from her uncle, becoming the second character to hold that title. The introduction of Angela and the visual presence of the mask and amulet strongly suggests that the MCU is laying the groundwork for her to follow a similar path. This setup hints at the potential emergence of a new hero within the MCU's street-level landscape. This development closely mirrors the comic book storyline, indicating a strong adherence to the source material. The introduction of a younger hero like White Tiger could be a subtle subtle move towards building a potential Young Avengers team within the MCU. As the franchise continues to introduce younger characters with heroic potential, the passing of the amulet, a source of superhuman abilities for the White Tiger, is a significant moment that strongly implies Angela's eventual transformation. Adding to the White Tiger's presence in the episode is a new mural created by the villain, Muse. This mural depicts the White Tiger's mask adorned with angel wings and tiger eyes. In the comics, Muse is a serial ending artist known for his disturbing murals, often incorporating themes related to vigilantes. This particular mural appears to serve as a dark and twisted memorial to Hector Ayala, reflecting Muse's unique and macabre artistic sensibilities. The appearance of the mural further establishes Muse's character and his unsettling methods, directly connecting him to the events surrounding White Tiger's end. The mural also underscores the episode's exploration of death and legacy, showcasing the stark contrast between the heroic image of White Tiger and Muse's disturbing tribute. This visual element effectively introduces the audience to Muse's twisted perspective and his fascination with the vigilante world of New York City. The episode concludes with a chilling scene that offers a direct look into the disturbing methods of the new villain, Muse. He is shown in a dilapidated subway station, draining blood from a captive individual. This gruesome act directly mirrors Muse's character from the Marvel Comics, where he is depicted as a serial ender who uses the red stuff and sometimes other body parts of his victims to create his grotesque artwork. This scene serves as a horrifying introduction to Muse, establishing him as a significant and uniquely terrifying threat within the MCU. This depiction stays true to Muse's comic book origins, which is likely to resonate with fans familiar with the character. Muse's presence injects a darker, more grounded element of horror into the MCU, particularly within that street-level narrative, offering a contrast to the more fantastical villains that are often encountered. The act of draining is designed to shock and leave a lasting impression, highlighting the disturbing nature of this new antagonist. In a pivotal moment, Matt Murdock is seen assessing a hidden rooftop area in his apartment. Inside, he reveals a collection of Daredevil masks and helmets. The assortment appears to include different iterations of his costume, possibly even the yellow and gold suit from his early comic book appearances, and his recent appearance in She-Hulk Attorney at Law. This visual signifies Matt's internal conflict and his growing consideration of returning to his role as the Daredevil. The presence of multiple masks represents his past identities and the potential for him to embrace his vigilante persona once more, especially in the wake of Foggy's end and the escalating threats in Hell's Kitchen. This scene marks a significant point in Matt's character arc, illustrating his journey towards accepting his role as Daredevil again. The inclusion of various mask designs acts as a visual callback to different phases of Daredevil's history in the comics and previous adaptations, rewarding longtime fans with familiar imagery. The possibility that these masks were designed by Luke Jacobson, the superhero costume designer introduced in She-Hulk, further solidifies the continuity between the Disney Plus series. During a tense confrontation between Matt Murdock and Frank Castle, also known as the Punisher, a significant moment occurs for fans of the Daredevil mythos. The Punisher refers to Benjamin Poindexter, the deadly assassin previously seen in the Netflix Daredevil series as Bullseye. Remarkably, this marks the very first time the iconic codename Bullseye has been spoken within the MCU. Despite the character's introduction several years ago, this is the first instance of his famous name being uttered, making it a noteworthy Easter egg for dedicated viewers. This long-awaited name drop is undoubtedly a fan-pleasing moment, finally bestowing the popular villain with his well-known identity within the MCU canon. It could also hint at a more prominent and comic-accurate portrayal of Bullseye in future storylines, potentially leaning further into his established villainous persona. Interestingly, reports suggest that the Bullseye line was added during the show's creative overhaul, indicating its importance was recognized and implemented later in the production process. Episode 4, it marks the highly anticipated return of Frank Castle, the Punisher, portrayed by Jon Bernthal. His interactions with Matt Murdock are fraught with tension and emotional weight, reminiscent of their complex relationship in the original Netflix series. Notably, Frank addresses Matt as Red multiple times throughout their conversation. This is a direct callback to the Netflix Daredevil series, where Red was a nickname Frank frequently used for Daredevil. This familiar name serves as a clear sign of continuity, confirming that this is the same version of the Punisher that fans remember. The reunion of Daredevil and the Punisher is a significant draw for fans of the Netflix shows, bringing back their compelling and often conflicting dynamic. The consistent use of Red nickname firmly establishes the connection between the previous series and Born Again, reassuring viewers that the established history of these two characters is being acknowledged and built upon. Furthermore, their intense conversation acts as a catalyst for Matt, pushing him to confront his grief over Foggy's death and to seriously consider returning to his vigilante role. The top Easter egg in episode 4 is a powerful combination of a familiar phrase series and a significant visual. Wilson Fisk, during a conversation with Vanessa, begins to recount a story from his past with the iconic phrase, "When I was a boy." This phrase was a recurring motif in the Netflix Daredevil series, often preceding deeply personal and revealing anecdotes about Fisk's troubled childhood, becoming strongly associated with his character. Adding to this callback is the appearance of the white painting that was central to Fisk's relationship with Vanessa in the original series. This painting is now visibly marked with a red splatter, a direct reminder of the brutal fight between Daredevil and Fisk in the season 3 finale of the Netflix show. This visual cue serves as a potent reminder of the violent history between these two characters and the lasting impact of their confrontations. The combination of this iconic phrase and the red splattered painting powerfully underscores the continuity between the Netflix series and Daredevil Born Again, emphasizing that the past continues to shape the present for both Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk. Daredevil Born Again Episode 4, it is a densely packed episode that not only advances its core storylines, but also provides a wealth of Easter eggs and references for devoted fans. From acknowledging past MCU events to directly calling back to the beloved Netflix series, these hidden details enrich the viewing experience and offer potential clues about the future of Daredevil and the wider MCU. The return of the Punisher, the introduction of the terrifying Muse, and Matt's contemplation of his Daredevil persona all contribute to a compelling narrative that is further enhanced by these carefully placed nods to the source material and previous adaptations. As the series progresses, viewers will undoubtedly continue to uncover even more layers of detail and connections within this reborn corner of the MCU. The episode kicks off at 9:05 a.m. on St. Patrick's Day in New York City. The episode's underscored by the lively sounds of The Rocky Road to Dublin by the Young Dubliners. While this might first seem like a simple thematic choice because St. Patrick's Day, a closer look suggests a potential deeper connection. Later in the episode, during the tense bank robbery, one of the criminals asks about Matt Murdock's Irish heritage. This musical cue at the beginning could be interpreted as an early nod to this aspect of Matt's background. The inclusion of this particular song demonstrates the showrunner's attention to detail in establishing character and setting, even in just the soundtrack. This intentional use of music raises the possibility that future musical choices within the series might also hold similar significance, perhaps reflecting character origins or foreshadowing upcoming plot developments. A significant point of interest in episode 5 is Matt Murdock's encounter with Yusef Khan at the New York bank. Yusef is introduced as the assistant bank manager and more notably as the father of Kamala Khan, also known as Miss Marvel. This interaction firmly roots Daredevil Born Again within the MCU by bringing in a character that has resonated with audiences since her debut in the Miss Marvel series. Yusef's desk also features a custom Miss Marvel Funko Pop figure, a visual cue that proudly displays his support for his daughter's heroic endeavors. During their conversation, Yusef mentions that Jersey City is Miss Marvel's hometown, something that Matt Murdock claims to be unfamiliar with. This detail helps to establish the current timeline within the MCU and Daredevil's level of awareness regarding other heroes operating in the same world. Additionally, Yusef reveals that Kamala is currently in California visiting friends. This seemingly casual remark carries potential significance as it aligns with post-credit scenes of the Marvels, which hinted at Kamala's plans to recruit Cassie Lang, Ant-Man's daughter, and potentially form a Young Avengers team alongside Kate Bishop, Hawkeye. Matt's lack of awareness about Miss Marvel also indicates where his focus has been, likely centered on the events unfolding in his immediate vicinity because he is going through a lot right now. In a moment of levity amidst the tension of the bank robbery, Yusef Khan, impressed by Matt's unexpected skills in opening the vault, asks him what kind of lawyer he is. Matt's simple yet confident reply, "A really good one," is a direct callback to a memorable scene from Spider-Man No Way Home. In that film, during Peter Parker's legal troubles, Matt Murdock, acting as Peter's lawyer, casually just catches a brick through a window. When Peter inquired about his seemingly superhuman reflexes, Matt delivered the same understated line. This direct quotation serves as a clear nod to a significant moment in Matt Murdock's MCU history, likely eliciting a positive reaction from fans who recognized that reference. Beyond simple fan service, this callback highlights the consistency of Matt's characterization. Even when he is not operating as Daredevil, his sharp wit and underlying confidence in his abilities, both as a lawyer and someone with unique skills, remain evident. The line has also become somewhat popular among fans, and its inclusion here can be seen as an acknowledgement of that popularity and a way to further solidify Daredevil's place within the universe. During the intense bank robbery scenario, Matt Murdock, while attempting to de-escalate the situation, mentions to the lead thug that he was raised in an orphanage. This seemingly brief statement carries significant weight for those familiar with the original Daredevil series that aired on Netflix. In that iteration, a crucial element of Matt's backstory was his upbringing by nuns at St. Agnes Orphanage following the tragic end of his father. This explicit mention serves as a clear indication that Daredevil Born Again acknowledges and incorporates the established history and character development from the Netflix show rather than acting as a complete reboot. This continuity is important for longtime fans of the character as it provides a sense of familiarity and respect for the previous portrayal. Furthermore, this reference briefly touches upon a foundational aspect of Matt's origin story, highlighting the formative experiences that shaped his values and ultimately contributed to his path as a vigilante dedicated to protecting the vulnerable. A visually intriguing detail during that bank robbery scene involves the masks worn by the criminals. The masks are red, blue, green, purple, and yellow. For keen-eyed MCU enthusiasts, these colors bear a striking resemblance to the colors associated with the Infinity Stones. Adding another layer to this observation, the highly sought-after diamond in the deposit box is described as orange, the color of the Soul Stone. This color coordination has led some fans to speculate about a subtle, perhaps even unintentional nod to Thanos and the Infinity Saga, a major arc in the MCU. While the connection might seem weak, the specific combo of colors, particularly with the target of the heist being orange, is a curious detail. It's the kind of observation that often fuels fan discussions and theories about potential, even if unlikely, connections to the larger cosmic narrative of the MCU. However, it is important to acknowledge that this could simply be a visual coincidence, and the source material itself labels this connection as obscure, suggesting it might not have been a deliberate Easter egg intended by the showrunners, but also like, come on. The central plot device of the bank robbery revolves around the thieves' pursuit of the large orange diamond located within deposit box number 407. This seemingly specific detail is far from random for fans of the comics, as it is directly referencing Daredevil 407. This particular issue is significant for Daredevil for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's the issue in which Ben Urich, a close confidant of Daredevil, discovers that Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, is apparently done. While Kingpin is very much alive in Daredevil Born Again, this reference to an issue dealing with his supposed demise could be a subtle foreshadowing of future conflicts or shifts in his power and influence within the series. Secondly, it marks the first appearance of the character Cherry in the comics. Cherry is also a character in Daredevil Born Again, portrayed as a former NYPD detective working as a private investigator for Matt Murdock. This connection to the comic issue where Cherry was first introduced might be a way of highlighting the character's comic book origins and potentially hinting at a more significant role for him as the series progresses. This deep-cut Easter egg demonstrates the show's commitment to honoring its comic book foundations and provides a rewarding detail for longtime readers. During a conversation, Matt Murdock's love interest Heather Glenn makes a remark that subtly references Matt's past involvement with the vigilante world. She mentions his extensive experience working with vigilantes. This casual line is a callback to the second season of the Netflix Daredevil series, where Matt Murdock famously served as the legal representative for Frank Castle, also known as the Punisher. By specifically mentioning Matt's history with vigilantes, the show reminds the audience of his complex relationship with the world of costumed heroes and sets the stage for his internal conflict regarding whether or not to fully embrace his Daredevil persona once again. Furthermore, this mention of the Punisher, a character who remains popular among fans, could potentially foreshadow further exploration of his impact on Matt's life within this new series. A significant visual moment in episode 5 occurs when Matt Murdock, in an effort to pursue the fleeing leader of the bank robbers, dons a red ski mask that belonged to one of the criminals. For fans of Daredevil, the color red is linked to the character's iconic costume. Putting on a red mask, it carries a powerful symbolic weight, serving as a clear visual foreshadowing of Matt's inevitable return to his role as the Daredevil. After the tragic end of Foggy Nelson, Matt had seemingly given up his vigilante activities, attempting to focus solely on his legal career. However, the events of the bank robbery force him to take action outside the confines of the legal system, and the red mask becomes a potent symbol of this shift. It represents a step back towards the darkness and the vigilantism that he tried to leave behind, highlighting his internal struggle and his ultimate decision to embrace his heroic identity once more. This visual cue is likely to generate excitement among viewers eager to see Daredevil back in action in his full costume. Episode 5 references the character Swordsman, further connecting Daredevil Born Again to other corners of the MCU. Swordsman makes an appearance at Mayor Fisk's fundraiser in episode 5. More significantly, even though it's not the focus of this video, in episode 6, a video of Swordsman fighting is shown on the BB Report. He was previously introduced in the Hawkeye series, where he was initially engaged to Eleanor Bishop and later framed by her before ultimately joining forces with Kate Bishop and Clint Barton against the Tracksuit Mafia. His appearance in Daredevil Born Again shows the street-level MCU is all connected now. Given his history with Kate Bishop and his awareness of Wilson Fisk's criminal dealings, Swordsman's presence could potentially lead to future interactions or conflicts with Daredevil or Kingpin, adding another layer of complexity to the unfolding narrative. While episode 5 primarily focuses on that bank robbery, it lays the groundwork for a significant antagonist who becomes more prominent in the subsequent episodes. During the bank heist, one of the robbers, known as Green or Devlin, is noted to bear a resemblance to the comic book villain Sin Eater. While this is not a direct appearance of Muse, it hints at the darker, more grounded threats that Daredevil will be facing. The narrative then shifts to episode 6, where the serial ender known as Muse takes center stage. Muse is depicted as a disturbing artist who creates murals using human red. A scene in episode 6 where two women approach Muse for a selfie directly mirrors a panel from the original Marvel Comics, demonstrating the show's adherence to the source material. Furthermore, Wilson Fisk strategically uses the public sphere and chaos generated by Muse's endings as justification for the creation of his anti-vigilante task force. The introduction and setup of Muse, even in the periphery of episode 5, establishes a significant and disturbing threat that will undoubtedly drive much of the conflict in the season, pushing both Daredevil and Kingpin back into their familiar roles. The 5th episode of Daredevil Born Again, it is packed with Easter eggs and hidden references that enhance the viewing experience for both casual fans and dedicated Marvel enthusiasts. The inclusion of characters like Yusef Khan and the callbacks to moments from Spider-Man No Way Home and the Netflix series establish this new show within the existing MCU canon. The foreshadowing of future storylines, such as the emergence of Muse and the potential for a Young Avengers team-up, it builds anticipation for what lies ahead. By weaving in these Easter eggs, the creators of Daredevil Born Again show that they understand and appreciate the source material and fanbase, promising a continuation of the Daredevil saga that is both familiar and exciting. This one is a bit unsettling. In episode 2, we see a couple of corrupt cops with Punisher skull tattoos. Now, the Punisher's logo has become a controversial symbol in recent years, particularly its use by some law enforcement and military personnel. This could be the show's way of addressing that controversy and exploring the complex themes of vigilante justice and police corruption. Is the show suggesting that the line between hero and villain is becoming blurred? Or is it a commentary on the dangers of idolizing violent figures? Only time will tell how this plays out in future episodes. Speaking of vigilantes, in his mayoral address, Fisk subtly throws shade at some familiar New York heroes. He mentions a gun-toting vigilante who wears a skull on his chest, Punisher, and a man who dresses in a spider outfit. Spider-Man, of course, you could probably guess that though. This is a cool way to acknowledge the wider MCU and hint at potential future crossovers. It also highlights Fisk's growing political power and his ambition to control all aspects of New York City. Now that he's mayor, he has the authority to crack down on vigilantes, which could create some serious problems for Daredevil and his allies. Did you catch that awesome fight scene with White Tiger in the first episode? This marks the live-action debut of Hector Ayala, the first White Tiger in Marvel Comics. He even mentions that his amulet grants him enhanced strength and powers, just like in the comics. But here's a deeper cut for you. In the comics, those amulets draw their power from K'un-Lun, the mystical city that's home to Iron Fist. Could this be a hint at a larger mystical side of the MCU and a potential return of Iron Fist? Remember Josie's Bar, the iconic hangout spot from the original Netflix series? Well, it's back and it's still run by the one and only Josie. This is a nice little nod to the show's roots and a reminder of the good old days when Matt, Foggy, and Karen would unwind with a few drinks after a long day of crime fighting and lawyering. Speaking of which, did you notice the name of their law firm? It's Nelson, Murdoch, and Page, just like it was at the end of Daredevil Season 3. The lingering tension between Fisk and Maya Lopez stemming from the Hawkeye confrontation is far from resolved in Born Again. Fisk's veiled reference to his protege that he attempted to mentor is a chilling reminder of the violent betrayal that he suffered. It's not just a casual mention, it's a subtle but potent indicator of the deep-seated resentment and potential for future conflict. This incident clearly remains a raw nerve for the Kingpin, hinting at his capacity for vengeance and his inability to easily forgive those who cross him. However, the revelation that Vanessa Fisk has taken a more active role in managing his criminal empire during his absence adds a layer of complexity to his power dynamics. Her involvement with the Five Families demonstrates that Fisk's influence is not solely reliant on his physical presence or political power. It's a network built on loyalty, fear, and the strategic management of his resources, now expertly handled by his wife. This expansion of Vanessa's role implies that the Fisk empire is evolving, becoming more multifaceted, and perhaps more dangerous. It's a testament to their combined power and a signal that Fisk's reach extends far beyond the confines of Hell's Kitchen, encompassing a vast and intricate web of criminal activity. This reveal serves as a stark reminder that even when seemingly defeated, Fisk's power is constantly being reinforced and expanded, making him an even more formidable formidable adversary. Kirsten McDuffie's introduction in Born Again isn't just a simple addition to Matt Murdock's professional life, it's a deliberate nod to the comics, signaling a potential exploration of familiar and complex themes. In the source material, Kirsten's presence adds a layer of romantic entanglement and intrigue as she navigates the complexities of a relationship with Matt, all while harboring suspicions about his double life. This dynamic creates a compelling tension, forcing Matt to grapple with the risks of revealing his identity and the potential consequences of keeping secrets. In Born Again, her arrival raises questions about whether the show will follow a similar trajectory. Will we see a rekindling of Matt's romantic life? And will Kirsten's investigative instincts lead her closer to the truth about Daredevil? Her character serves as a potential catalyst for exploring the delicate balance between Matt's personal and vigilante lives and how those lives intersect with the people he cares about. The potential for her to uncover his secret adds a layer of suspense, reminding viewers of the constant threat to Matt's carefully constructed world. It is a welcome addition that has the potential to add a lot of depth to this show. Kingpin's omelet isn't just a quirky detail, it's a window into the character's meticulously crafted persona. In the original Netflix series, his culinary rituals were a way to humanize a man capable of monstrous acts, showcasing his need for order and control in a world where he often manipulated it into chaos. And now, in Born Again, the addition of a single stalk of asparagus speaks volumes. It's a subtle shift, a sign that even with his established routines, change and evolution are occurring. This detail serves as a reminder that Fisk is constantly adapting, even in the most mundane aspects of his life. It suggests a calculated approach, a desire for a balanced, perhaps even healthier existence, mirroring his ambition to bring a similar, albeit twisted, order to New York. The omelet, therefore, becomes a symbol of Fisk's enduring need to exert control over his environment, both personal and political, while also subtly hinting at the ways in which he continues to refine and redefine himself. It is a small detail, but a powerful indicator of the man's mind. The BB Report with BB Urich isn't just a throwaway news segment, it is a deeply resonant callback to the heart of the original Daredevil series, the reveal that BB is Ben Urich's niece. It adds a layer of poignant complexity to the narrative. Ben, the fearless journalist who always sought the truth, was tragically ended by Fisk, a wound that still lingers for many fans. Now, his legacy lives on through his niece, who, like him, is navigating the treacherous landscape of New York's media. Fisk's interaction with her becomes a chilling reminder of his past sins and the far-reaching consequences of his actions. It's a subtle but powerful way to keep Ben's memory alive while also highlighting the cynical nature of Fisk's influence and the ongoing struggle for truth in a city that he seeks to control. This connection serves as a constant, subtle tension, a reminder of the price of Fisk's power, and it will be interesting to see if BB follows her uncle's path or if Fisk's influence will corrupt her. The single-shot fight sequence between Daredevil and Bullseye in the first episode isn't just a thrilling action set piece, it is a carefully crafted visual narrative, a direct homage to the iconic hallway fights that define the original Daredevil series. The seamless choreography and visceral intensity of this scene are a testament to the show's commitment to delivering impactful and immersive action. However, the fight's significance extends beyond mere spectacle. The broken horn on Daredevil's mask at the end of the sequence serves as a powerful symbolic representation of Matt Murdock's fractured emotional state. The loss of Foggy Nelson, a cornerstone of his life, has left him reeling, and the broken horn acts as a visual manifestation of this profound grief. It's as if a piece of Daredevil himself has been shattered, mirroring the internal damage Matt is experiencing. This detail adds a layer of vulnerability to the character, reminding viewers that beneath the hardened exterior of the vigilante lies a man struggling to cope with immense pain. The broken horn, therefore, becomes a potent symbol of Matt's vulnerability, his loss, and the emotional toll of his ongoing battle against darkness. It elevates the fight scene from a mere action sequence to a key moment of character development, emphasizing the emotional stakes of the series. And then, in Times Square, we see a billboard for Rogers the Musical, the Captain America themed Broadway show from Hawkeye. But that's not the only Easter egg in this scene. There's also an ad for Luke Cage's jazz club, Harlem's Paradise, a poster promoting the Pim Van Dyne Foundation, aka remember Hope Van Dyne from Ant-Man, and even an ad for a soft drink Pingo Dolce, which has appeared in several other MCU projects.
At number 10, we're diving into the gritty realism of Red Hook, a location that resonates with the echoes of past Marvel Netflix adventures. In a stark scene, Devlin's ruthless efficiency is on full display as he eliminates two men and commandeers their truck, all against the backdrop of this familiar pier. Red Hook isn't just a random dock, it's a recurring setting, a tangible link to the interconnected narratives of shows like Iron Fist and The Punisher. This detail serves a crucial purpose. It reinforces the idea that these stories, though distinct, unfold within a shared, tangible urban landscape. The grime of Red Hook, the industrial feel of the docks, these are not just set dressings, but active participants in the storytelling. By revisiting this location, the show subtly acknowledges the legacy of its predecessors, reminding viewers that the characters and events of those series have left an indelible mark on this corner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a quiet, visual affirmation of a shared world, a nod that rewards observant fans and deepens the sense of continuity within the often sprawling MCU. This location is a physical reminder that these shows existed within the same world, and that the actions of characters such as Frank Castle and Danny Rand had consequences that exist within the world of Daredevil Born Again. Number 9 on our list brings us to a seemingly innocuous moment during a dinner scene between Wilson and Vanessa Fisk, a moment that, upon closer inspection, reveals layers of depth to Vanessa's character. She casually mentions Francis Bacon's Freud triptych, a highly coveted and expensive piece of art soon to be auctioned. The way she speaks of it with a clear undercurrent of desire isn't just a throwaway line, it's a window into her sophisticated tastes and the opulent world she inhabits. This isn't merely about owning a valuable object, it's about possessing a piece of art that reflects her refined sensibilities and reinforces her status within the elite. Vanessa's interest in such a specific and high-profile artwork speaks volumes about her lifestyle, hinting at the vast wealth and influence that the Fisks wield. It's a subtle yet powerful reminder that they are not just criminals operating in the shadows, they are also patrons of the arts, figures of immense power who move within the highest echelons of society. This detail serves to elevate Vanessa beyond a mere supporting character, solidifying her as a complex individual with her own desires and motivations, and further emphasizing the formidable power that the Fisk partnership commands. This moment is a quiet but effective way to paint a picture of Vanessa's character and the world she lives in. At number 8, we have a moment that might have seemed like just a casual conversation, but it actually carries a deeper meaning. While Matt Murdock visits Hector Ayala in his cell, Hector talks about his favorite beach in Puerto Rico and the sound of the coqui frogs. He describes them as singing to their mates, with whom they mate for life. This seemingly innocuous conversation takes on a heartbreaking significance when, at the end of the episode, we hear the sound of coqui frogs as Hector, now the White Tiger, is tragically killed. This could symbolize Hector's life being cut short, his song ending abruptly. It serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life, especially for those who choose the path of a vigilante. This next Easter egg has fans buzzing with excitement. During Hector Ayala's trial, Matt Murdock reveals a list of people that the White Tiger has saved, including several police officers. One of those names is Officer Morales, which could be a sneaky reference to Miles Morales' father, Jeff Morales, who is a police officer in the comics. This is a particularly exciting Easter egg, as it suggests that Miles Morales might exist in this corner of the MCU, potentially setting the stage for a future crossover. Could we see Spider-Man and Daredevil team up one day? Only time will tell. This episode is filled with references to the Punisher, and they all point to something big going down in Hell's Kitchen. First, we see a mural with the Punisher's iconic skull logo and the word "Triggered" spray painted underneath it. Then, things take a dark turn when White Tiger is gunned down by someone with a Punisher skull tattoo. It seems likely that these corrupt cops are somehow connected to Frank Castle, or at the very least are using his symbol to instill fear and further their own agenda. This definitely raises the question, will we see the Punisher himself make an appearance in Born Again? This subtle parallel between Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk might have slipped past you, but it's a powerful visual that speaks volumes about their characters. Both men are shown with busted knuckles in this episode. This highlights the physical toll that their respective battles take on them, even though they fight in very different ways. Matt, as Daredevil, engages in brutal hand-to-hand combat, while Fisk uses his power and influence to manipulate and control those around him. It's a visual reminder that both men are engaged in a constant struggle, with their bodies bearing the scars of their conflicts. Interestingly, the directors of the show have spoken about how they use action sequences to tell a story. They want the action to have meaning and to reflect the characters' journeys. This episode draws inspiration from a controversial storyline in the Daredevil comics called Out. where Matt's identity as Daredevil is revealed to the public. In the show, Matt reveals Hector Ayala's secret identity as the White Tiger in court. While the show doesn't follow the comic book storyline exactly, it does raise the question, could Matt's own identity be exposed in Born Again? This would have massive consequences for Matt and those he cares about, and it would definitely shake things up in Hell's Kitchen. The death of Foggy Nelson in the first episode of Born Again shocked viewers, but some fans have a theory. Foggy might have faked his own death. In the comics, Foggy's death was faked to protect him from dangerous criminals. Could something similar be happening in the show? Foggy has always been concerned about Matt's safety and has tried to convince him to give up his life as Daredevil. Perhaps faking his own death is Foggy's drastic way of forcing Matt to retire from crime fighting. It's a wild theory, but it would be a huge twist if it turned out to be true. The first trailer for Born Again hinted at the arrival of Muse, a terrifying villain from the Daredevil comics. Muse is a serial killer who creates grotesque works of art using the body parts of his victims. But who will play Muse in the show? Fans have some theories. Some believe that Buck Cashman, Fisk's associate, will be revealed to be Muse. Others think that the man at Heather Glenn's book signing who mentioned struggling with his mental health might be the sinister killer. Keep an eye on these characters, because one of them might be the terrifying Muse. And finally, our #1 Easter egg takes us back to a flashback scene with Matt Murdock's father, Jack. Jack is pressured by a man named Roscoe to take a dive in his fight against Carl Crusher Creel. This character is Roscoe Sweeney, also known as the Fixer in the comics, a villain known for fixing fights and engaging in various criminal activities. This Easter egg adds depth to the backstory of Matt's father and provides a glimpse into the corrupt world of boxing that Jack was a part of.